Hello everyone, welcome to another review. We have another review over here today, and it is this thing over here. As you can see it, another Flathead earbud. This earbud is called Yincrow X Yincrow X6, and a lot of you might know this because this is kind of like a hyped earbud, and that is because of its value. And I would have to agree with this. This thing is usually you can find this around 10 bucks. Okay, you can sometimes get it on sale for like 6 bucks. So it is like a very cheap earbud, right? It's it's around 10 bucks, so you can find it around that price. And now let's get into the accessories. Okay, it's very simple and bare bone. This is the box that it came with, very simple and minimal. And let's read some of the characteristics over here. Oh, it's not here. Let's open it. It was inside this card, and it's pretty standard. It's 112 plus minus 3 decibels per milliwatt. That's the sensitivity. 32 ohms of impedance. 18 hertz to 22 kilohertz. That's the frequency range. Yeah, it has a termination of 33.5 millimeter. I don't think you can get this in 4.4 balanced. This is the only like determination that you can get this thing in. But yeah, but that's like the interesting feature is that 15.5 millimeter driver inside here. Okay, I'm not the, before you judge me, I'm not the kind of person who cares about what's inside my earbud or IAM or anything, as long as it sounds good. And earlier, like 5 minutes ago, before making this video, I was reading this. I was like, oh, that does make some sense. Maybe I'm coping, okay? But maybe that does play some role into the sound of this thing. AKA, spoiler alert, I'm talking about the bass. And yeah, before we talk about that, let's talk about the rest of the accessories. It came only with this thing. It's a pouch, you can store your earbuds in it. It looks like a fabric. It's alright, you know. I don't like this color. It's like a dirty blue. I don't know what is this. It's like a nasty blue. I don't like the color blue. It's like that gemstone color. What do you call it? I don't remember the name, but yeah, it's that color. It's alright. It doesn't feel so bad. It feels good actually. And yeah, you can definitely put your earbuds inside this, it fits them. And it came with a set of foams. Interestingly, let me open this up and show. It came with one of these things. It's like a clip for your shirt. You can put this mount it and clip this on your shirt. I don't know who uses these things, but it's not me. And interestingly, it came with like two sets of this donut-shaped, ring-shaped foams. That was interesting. I'm gonna talk about the effect that these things had, as you can see. And it came with two other, I think I put it somewhere else on my another earbud, but like a regular, one of them is here, like two sets of this regular foams. Yeah, it's okay quality. It feels soft. I've seen worse and I've seen better. It's right in the middle, so yeah, it came with these cocaine bags. Let me put it back inside. And I think that's it for the accessories. Now let's talk about the cable. Let me open this up over here. It's a pretty simple cable, honestly. It's nothing fancy. It's not woven. It's not fabric. It's a pretty simple silicone plastic. And I like it actually. It feels thick and sturdy. It feels good in your hand, right? When you feel it, touch it, it feels like it's durable and it doesn't feel cheap. I've definitely, let me show you. This is like a typical typical plasticky wire. This feels cheap, right? It's thick, but it feels cheap. But definitely this thing, it's toward the like a good feeling kind of cable, and it behaves well. And I love that it wraps so well. That I love about this earbud. It wraps. Simple. Oh, I wrapped it too tight. And it stays in place. Watch it not stay. Yeah, it usually behaves well. I think I wrapped it too tight. And I like the color of this. It comes with a lot of, like, loads of choices. You can see there's like a ton of, it's in Chinese, I can't read, but like 8 different colors. It has microphone version and non-mic version. I have the non-mic version here. And yeah, I like this color. Like, it came with like gold. You can customize this color. You can customize the chassis color. Not customize it. You can get in a different kind of options for both the cable and the chassis, which is the, by the way, the classic Sennheiser MX500 shells. It's pretty simple. One of those. Yeah, this is my favorite color. It came like you could get it like in a clear or a smoky kind of earbud chassis too. But I went with this, and okay. I love how this looks. I think it looks, especially in this color, I think it looks fantastic. And it feels good too. It feels very solid. Yeah. And I guess there's nothing else to speak of but to get into sound. Okay. Should I talk about the effect of the foams here? Okay, let's get rid of the talking about foams over here. Here, I talked about this donut-shaped foams. And I have to say, I tried this on and I actually listened to them using the donut-shaped foams. I listened to them using to these things a lot. And I listened to them using these other kind of foams that I have over here, which I'm going to talk after. About this donut-shaped foams. It's a respectable sound, okay? It gives you more clarity in your mids, but it also gives you more treble. I myself found the treble with these things to be too harsh, so I didn't keep using them. But like, if you're not as sensitive or you listen at lower volumes, I definitely suggest these things because it gives your mids more pop and more clarity. And it doesn't, the bass is good too, you know. The bass doesn't affect the bass, okay? And the effect that these things have is that like they bring down the mids and treble a little bit, so the bass pops out. So you could use these things, but it gives me too much treble, so I prefer to use it on these things. And I want to talk about these things. These foams actually don't belong to this earbud. It belongs to my other earbud, Venture Electronics. I showed it just right now. VE Monks Plus. It came with these loads of foams, and you can get these things. It's very cheap, like $1. You can get like 20 of these. It's very simple and cheap. You can get this. For a long time, I used these things to listen on them, and it's like a very thicker kind of foam. So the effect that these things did is basically like brought down the treble and mids like way more than these things do. So, and that made that sound over here very warm, and I actually like that. Okay, I wouldn't say it's an analytical good sound. It's not a correct sound with these things on it, but I just love that warm sound. And I'm not a person who prefers warm sound signatures, but when I tell you that this was like a very enjoyable, respectable warm sound, so that it means that it was actually good sound. So if you're a fan of warm sounds, bassy sounds, I definitely suggest you to like get a thicker kind of foam like this from AliExpress. You can find them, and it definitely gave the sound over here. It got rid of any kind of harshness. If you're sensitive to treble and harshness, you find a lot of stuff like you're treble sensitive, you find a lot of them sibilant. Definitely suggest to use like a thicker foam to get rid of that. Okay, enough talking about that. But these things is like a middle of those thick foams and like a ring style, donut shaped style foams. So it's muffles not muffles. It definitely balances the mids and trebles down a little bit, not too much. And now let's get right into talking about sound, because I have a lot to talk about here. This is a weird earbud. Weird, good. I say weird is good always. It's funky. It's not too funky, but it has enough funkiness and weirdness to it that I think it's enjoyable and good, okay? And it is a kind of a sound signature that you cannot find this in anything else. So yeah, I think I like that. I like that when they do weird things. I think that's good. That's good when they do that. Let me. Sorry. Overall sound signature over here. Okay, how does it sound? I would describe this, and I told you, okay, it depends on the foams, but on these regular foams, and generally, by its nature, by default, usually I would say this sits, I would describe this as a neutral with a mild V-shape. And I've heard a lot of V-shaped, but trust me, this is one of the tastefully done V-shaped kind of styles. It's mild, okay? It's not too much. It's more warm than V-shaped, but it definitely has some treble. That treble depends a lot on what kind of foam you use, but the warmness is usually there, okay? And speaking of which, I'm just gonna get right into talking about the bass over here, because I think that is the defining feature of this earbud. I would have to say this is the best bass sound I've heard in an earbud in this price range, and that comes with a caveat, okay? My point is that it has a good combination of quality and quantity of bass. It's not doing the best quality of bass I've heard in this price ranges. Okay, it's definitely the best below 10 bucks, but I'm comparing like to 30 bucks earbuds around those areas as well, because this is competitive. It's one of those good ones. It doesn't have the most amount of it, and it doesn't have the best quality of it. I think in those areas, I would give this thing a 9 out of 10. Okay, maybe an 8 out of 10. A 9 out of 10 for the price. And I have like other earbuds that do like a 10 in one quality and like 8 in quantity, or the opposite. But this thing is a 9 in both. So it hits it like a good spot of giving a good quality and quantity of bass. And I would have to describe the bass over here. Let me bring this on and skip. I would have to describe the bass here. It's very powerful. It's punchy and it's like rumbly, and it's very, very powerful. I could throw an adjective here. It's groovy. It sounds amazing, honestly. If you love warm sound, bassy sound, you have like lots of bassy music in your library, I would definitely tell you to try this on. I'm not a bass head and I don't care that much. I'm not like into bass too much in my music. I love it, but I'm not a bass head. And I even enjoy these things. And a lot of times I do use this thing alternative with my other earbuds that are better performing and more correct. But these things do have a place in my heart and in my library and my rotation. So yeah, it's very powerful here, and that's what I was saying with the driver. It was like a 15.5 millimeter driver, and I read that and I was like, maybe that's why it sounds so powerful and it's so punchy and groovy. Maybe it is that, and maybe that's just my delusion, right? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's good. And I have to like say that, okay, set your expectations. And if you heard IEMs, those I've heard Bassy IEMs, and those have a different sound. And that's not because the fault of this thing. It's just that IEMs do the isolation, and the bass sound you get is very different. It's like isolates you and vibrates. You know that feeling, like vibrates your neck and your head. You hear it resonating in your head, your like diaphragm. It's not that, okay. But if you have heard like a open back ear headphones, bassy ones, the ones that do bass good, this is very close feeling to that. It's like a different kind of sound, bass quality of bass to compared to that. It's a different texture. I like it. You know, if you haven't heard, if you usually use closed back headphones or like IEMs, this is a quality of bass you're missing. I'm not saying it better, but it definitely feels different. It's like you can feel the air vibrating through these things. It has a more wavy openness feeling to it. I can't describe it with words really. I'm not good with words. this isn't my first language, but yeah, you should give it a try. I love the bass on these things. And for the 100th time, let me repeat this again. I keep opening it up. And let's talk about the mids here. And okay, maybe I should talk about the treble here. I'll talk about the treble and then like slowly transition into mids. Treble over here, it's good. It's alright. I will like give it like, I don't know, like a 7 or 8 out of 10. Because it does, as I said, like it's a mild V shape, and the treble is very like dependent on what kind of form you use. That's what I was saying. And you get a lot of it with the donuts, average amount, and like with thicker forms you get like very less of it. And I found the treble to be best with these things. But the bad thing about this thing is that like it also brings down the mids, and I didn't like that. So I had to like compromise for this middle ground, I guess. I would still like to use it on sometimes on some genres and these things too. If my music is not mid forward, like if I'm listening to a lot of instrumental smooth jazz, yeah, this thing is interesting because you hear a lot of bass notes, and since there's no like mids, there is, but like there's like those harsh like P, I guess, trumpets or saxophones. It can make them more enjoyable, so that's why I turn up my volume and I get a lot of bass with that sound. It's because the mids here have a lot of clarity and they're good, so it doesn't suffer that the bass is so much, because the treble and the mids kind of complement it and go with it, kind of bring it down and make it feel actually enjoyable. That's why I said it's like tastefully done. Let me put this back over here, as I was saying. But yeah, if you use the donut style or even this, with these things I cannot listen to it on a high volume, because there is a peak, and I have looked at their frequency response graph, but I don't remember it right now. But I'm pretty sure there's a peak, at least there's one peak in the treble for this thing. And okay, that makes me have to like listen to this differently to my other earbuds. I can crank up the volume to my other earbuds more with this, more with the other ones than this. That's what I was saying. There's a peak there, and if it sounds harsh, okay, it sounds harsh when you bring it up a lot, and you use these like a thinner forms. If you use thicker forms, that harshness is totally gone. I guess you can look at the frequency response graph, and like EQ it that. I haven't tried that. Maybe I should. But yeah, but I don't think I need that. Actually, when I bring down the volume with this here, with this, I have a different like a habit of listening. I've developed a different habit of listening to genres and stuff with this thing, and it doesn't bother me. It's definitely can be tolerated treble if you're not too sensitive. I'm not specifically like too sensitive or too insensitive about treble. I'm in the middle, but like if you're less sensitive, definitely there's no problem for you here. And if you're sensitive, maybe it does bother me. It doesn't bother me. I'm in the middle, so it doesn't bother me that much. If only if I like crank up the volume too much, which honestly you should never do. That's not a good habit that I have. But alright, I think I yapped too much about this thing. Let's move on to the mids. And mids is the weirdest part about this earbud, and I have to say, okay, I was talking about the treble. I would have to say the treble is, as I said, it's in the average section. It gives you a lot of treble, good treble, but it has some peaks and harshness to it, alright? I've heard better treble. But I think I prefer this over not having treble, and because this kind of trebles, it does give you more detail about your drums and hi-hats. And okay, I think that's the treble done. Now talk about the mids, and I want to talk about the lower mids here. As I said, this thing, it's a very interesting tuning about the bass, and that bass transition into mids, it's not scooped at, and I hate it when like there's the Harman target devices that like tune to Harman. I hate that. They scoop out that low mids, makes everything sound thin and shouty. I don't like that. This thing does not do that, and I love it for it. It's maybe like doing the opposite of that over there. It gives a lot of like bass and it transitions to lower mids, but it's not bad, and it's still the mids, the high mids, the vocals are not like sounding too much muffled. If you use these things, they sound muffled, but on these things, it definitely not muffled. It definitely clears out. It's like going through a perfect line of like threading the needle between sounding too thin or like too thick, and I think it's doing a good job of that. But I would have to describe this like with these things. As I said, the bass is amazing, and also kick drums on your drums. I have never heard anything else sound this good on kick drums. The kick drums sound powerful and super punchy, and like it scares me. It's like very powerful. I have never heard the kick drums to be this powerful. I guess if you like listen to genres that have that like you rely on that power to give you that power, like with the bass and with the kick drum, I'm thinking maybe um, I guess electronic doesn't have that kick drum. Maybe it does. Actually, yeah, it does. It's just not a drum sound. It's like a just electronic drums, I guess. Not electronic drums, but electronic kicks. So yeah, on electronic music, EDM, it sounds great. On rock, it sounds great. Metal, I suppose I haven't listened to them to these things with metal. Maybe I should. I'm gonna try that next. But I'm guessing it sounds good because that power I've never heard the power of the kick drums, because it sits at that lower mids area, which everything else is always thins it out. This thing does not thin out. It's just powerful, and with combination of that bass, those two together, oh, mwah, that's like a chef's kiss. That's amazing. All right, enough of like chilling out over there. And let's talk about the vocals over here. I guess is that what they call the ear gain, the area with the like the mid rises, the mid rises. I think that's called with the ear gain. This thing is different with a lot of earbuds. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, earbuds that I've heard in this price range do it two different ways. From what I've heard, but like IEMs too. Like okay, a lot of tunes depends on their sound signature. But this sound signature is different, and the only thing I can think that sounds very close to this in like mid-rise is the Apple EarPods, but it's not completely similar to this. And but like compared to other things that I have over here, I'm gonna do comparisons later. I'm just gonna get out of talking about this. This is like a very total feeling of in earbuds of the mids, right? Mids rise vocals, okay. And I think they both have a place to be. Okay, I usually listen to these things, and like also these things. I listen to these things too. These two that I just showed have a total different sound signature in the mids, and if you are used to that, when I go to here, it sounds shouty. And but when I still on this for a day, not even a day, when I hear this, listen to this for like an hour, I get used to it, and actually this sounds good. And when I go over here, they sound like thin, not thin. They sound different. Okay, they sound less powerful. So what I'm saying that I am describing them as shouty, I guess, but compared to this, they're more shoutier, and it's a sound signature. Oh, I ruined this. It's the sound signature that is respectable, I would say, and I like that over here. But it takes some getting used to, with especially with the combination of that treble pick that I talked about. It's and also depends on the forms that you use. Again, uh, you could like exaggerate or balance this characteristic that I explaining with this using these different kind of forms for your like preferences. And I definitely suggest you to, if you have this or you want to buy this, definitely try to do that too. Like buy like thicker like forms, thinners, like donut ones. It comes with I show it to you, donuts and the simple ones. But you could get this like it's like $1 or something. It's very cheap. And yeah, I would explain, I would like recommend you to do that, and because everyone is different, has a different anatomy, and you might get to like customize which part of it like you want a less powerful treble, less like shouty treble, or like a more shouty, not shouty. I'm saying shouty, but that's not a bad thing. More powerful vocals, like a more forward. I guess yeah, that's a good way of saying it. vocals can get too forward on this, but that also can be what you hate. Depends on your like your music and also your preferences, and also can be something that you love, and which I do. I mean, I don't hate it and I don't love it either, but sometimes I do listen to this and some vocal content. And if you watch videos, that can sound good, you know, like YouTube videos, because it's vocal content and you're not listening for like a lot of nuances. It's not like music, so you could like that. You could like that, and it depends on your habits too. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much about that. The vocals, I would say, like sound good. They are clear, and although there is a lot of low mids here, it doesn't sound like that. It's muffled and mixed with your bass. All right, it's not that kind of mids. It's separated well enough, and that's because of like I don't know, maybe it's of the sound signature tuning, or maybe it's like good technical performance that's like separates that well enough. Meanwhile, giving you that lower mid power, lower mid emphasis, it's enjoyable and it is a respectable sound. And yeah, I like it. It's the mids are very clear, the vocals are clear, not very clear. They are clear and they are like they feel detailed. All right, it's enjoyable, and maybe sometimes it gets too forward in your mix. But this again, this thing depends on your music library and your preferences. But yeah, it's a respectable sound, and I don't like necessarily. I'm not usually. I'm just as I said, I listen to this thing which has a different sound, different rise in the mids, and I like this, but also like so this is a very like a different tuning from this. But when I go to this, I like spend like a little bit to get used to it. Like I don't know, like half an hour to get used to it. Listen to a song, I am used to it then, and I find the perfect volume, and then I actually start to enjoy this too. So it's a different sound signature compared to that, and it might be a different sound signature if you come from Harman or come from another earbud, but it is a sound that I think you can enjoy. I don't think it's a non-enjoyable. It's not a bad tuning. It's different, and it's a little bit maybe odd. You could say it's not odd, but it is good sounding. And for some of you out there, you might get this, and you want to love that quality about this mids over here. And I can definitely see that because again, in some genres, I love how these things sound with the mids and everything I described. And it looks like I'm complaining a lot. I'm not. I'm just trying to explain and describe the sound here. And as a matter of fact, I love that qualities that I'm describing here on this thing for certain situations, and not some certain situations, not so much. That's when I like switch, or depends on my mood too. Even like sometimes I want to focus on that different parts of my song music. So yeah, um, at last I'm gonna talk about the technical performance here because I just kind of like hinted at it. It's good. It's really good actually for this kind of price. It's excellent, honestly, and that gives a meaning when I start to compare, which I'm gonna do now. But yeah, I have to say the technical performance is good. The best part about that is detailed. It is very detailed, and that's because maybe because of the treble tuning, maybe not, but it's not too much sound stagey as far as earbuds go. Okay, all earbuds are definitely. If you're not used to earbuds and you're here to IEMs or closed headphones, this thing definitely have more soundstage than those. But compared to other earbuds, flathead earbuds, I'm talking about those. This is like it sits in the middle. It's not too much, too. It's not too wide, and it's not closed enough. No earbud is closed. Okay, but what it's good at in its technical performance is the details. It has like excellent details, and it comes like it's definitely like competes with like $30 earbud that I have over there, which is by itself like it doesn't compete with anything. It's so good. Um, so yeah, I think it's in technical performance it's really good. I would give it like it's an A tier, all right. And I am saying that like compared to its value, all right. It's not. It's A tier for a $10 earbud is different from like a $500, and there are $500. We Fincher Electronics. sound copper. That's what I'm talking about. Nevertheless, I think I talked about everything over here, and let me know if you have any questions about it. I'm gonna right now do some comparisons. I'm gonna keep it short. I understand I kind of like went on for a long time over here, and this is all my earbuds that I have over here. I'm gonna do a quick comparisons, as I was alluding to. These two, VE Monks Plus and Nice HCK EB2S Pro, these two have different tuning, which is similar to each other. And I'm talking about the mids. The mids sound less forward over here and more relaxed, but these two are kind of similar. And this is definitely not similar as this, but I think as far as sound goes, like tuning in vocals go, like this sits between these two. And this is not a tuning that you cannot find anywhere else. So if you like that, which I do sometimes, again, I tell this every time. Like people say, why do you bring this for like a comparisons? Like why do you own these? Like this, people think this is very bad, but this is actually very good sound. And not only that, it's a good reference point because everyone has heard that. And I keep saying that every time. I'm gonna keep saying it. And yeah, this is definitely the mids characteristics of this thing are similar here, and you could find some enjoyable sweet spots with your music in these things, and which these things are not gonna give you, okay? But also maybe not, you know, maybe not, you won't like it, so depends on you. That's the comparison over here, and I have to say, like, that's what I was alluding to at the beginning, that bass wise, this, I would say this is the bass. This has the best bass. I'm not talking about just the quantity. Let me wrap this up. It's really annoying me. And I'm not talking about the quality, quantity. I'm just talking about the mixture of both, right? I'm just giving this a quick wrap. It's not beautiful wrap. But yeah, like this thing has the same amount of quantity of bass, but quality of this thing is like a step ahead, at least in this thing. It's more precise, it's more powerful. Somehow it's less amount, but it's more powerful and more impactful, you know. And definitely the quality of this here. I would say the bass precision and qualities here is better, but you know, definitely there's so much more amount of it, and it's very close in quality too. So it's a different like sound. This is like analytical, like a clean sub bassy sound, like bass sound that's like boom. It's okay, but this has some aggression and punch to it, like just moves the air, right? That power over here, you're not gonna find it here. Although this is more like analytical, I guess. So yeah, for sure, the bass on this thing, I would say this is the bass I've heard in an earbud in this price range. And then this, and then this, and this thing just has nothing. And yeah, this is how I like rank them as in bass. This is how is my ranking in technical performance. Technical performance on this thing, Nice HDK EB2S Pro. It's a step ahead of this thing. But this thing, oh okay, I mean, these are at the same place. These don't have technical performance. They have very little, but they're like similar, you know. This has more details, this has a little more stage compared to each other. But this thing definitely has some sound stage, okay? And you could say it kind of competes. No, it doesn't compete. This thing has more staging, it has more detailing, it is better in every way. But the fact that this is a $10 earbud and it's competing with like a $30 earbud, which is like 3 times the price, yeah, you could draw comparisons here. It's a step behind, but the tuning here is so different. And if you want that bass, the bass goes to this thing in performance, rather than this. But in like mids and treble, this thing wins. So yeah, it's a thing that you're not gonna get with this thing over here. It's not that it's better in every way. It is better in most ways than this in performance, but not everything. So, and I do use this too alternatively a lot. And yeah, That's what I would like rank them and describe the comparison, like compare these things. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we're done. And let me put this thing aside. I do not believe that there's anything more to describe over here. Let me put the box over here. The foams and the pouch. Yeah, and I'm gonna wrap up the review. Let me know if you have any questions. You want more comparisons? Yeah, if you have this and you have like a certain experiences, please, like, especially let's talk about the mid characteristics over here, because I'm very intrigued about them in here. Like, it's a very interesting tuning, and I want to hear your opinions too. So I would say that's it. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you in the next review. Bye.